Hello. Hi, everyone. Cheryl Arkle.
Katrina Strickland.
Hello. This is our What Are You Reading segment, where we tell you what we're reading and you tell us what you're reading. Now, did you know, Katrina, it is a very, very popular segment that people just love on a Thursday at 2:00?
Because who doesn't love talking about what they're reading?
That's right. And you're usually at work probably
Yes,
at this
exactly.
time.
That's right.
But what you'll see on this side of the screen is a whole lot of comments come up, and I'll control those. People will
Okay.
like to ask us questions. Now, the first question might be, who is Katrina? Well, Katrina is a very good friend of mine, but she's also the editor, is that right, of the Good Weekend magazine, which is in The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald. So this is Katrina Strickland, and she's here today as our very special guest. See how they're all coming on?
Oh, yeah. Hi,
As
everyone.
our very special guest to talk to us a little bit about the magazine, because you might get some questions. And if you want to ask questions about the Good Weekend magazine, please do. And Katrina is a voracious reader, and she's got a list of books that she's reading that she'd like to share with all of you as well. Okay, so welcome everybody. This is What Are You Reading? Cheryl Arkle, Katrina Strickland. Okay, do you want to start?
Yeah, well, so I'm not very far into Anna Funder's Wifedom, which I'm loving already. It's much more, not that I didn't think it would be readable, it's much more compelling in a page-turning way than I thought. Like some of her, and as I say, I'm very early into it, but some of her observations on men and women, I'm just loving. Tart and to the point.
Yeah, she's a great nonfiction writer, isn't she?
Yeah. I'm loving it already. And then the other one that I'm reading kind of at the same time is Sarah Holland-Batt, The Jaguar, which I think it won the Stella Prize this year. And it's poetry, and it's around the death of her
I've had lunch
father.
with her.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's really as you know, my dad just died, and he had Parkinson's and Lewy bodies dementia, and her father had dementia, and so it's a very moving. I love also the size of the book. I love the books now that don't all have to be big; they can be little jewels, and it feels like that's a little jewel.
And also too, I think with these little jewels, sometimes it's dip in, dip out as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I can read it in tandem with the wifedom.
Yeah. Interesting. We were talking because Katrina and I recorded a podcast before we came onto this today, and we were talking about grief, and some books can become a textbook for grief, if you like, and who are we talking about? We were talking about somebody you had read recently. Joan Didion.
Oh, it was Joan Didion, The Year of Magical Thinking.
Yes, when because her husband and her child died.
Yes,
is that right?
Yeah.
So there are books that become that as well. I think Wifedom is going to become a classic in that nonfiction genre, don't you think?
I do, and I think Anna Funder's so clever because she doesn't do a book that often, but it seems like she does about one a decade. But it means that every one she does is, like Stasiland became, was read years and years after, wasn't it?
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to read some of these comments just so that we will welcome everybody. Carolyn, hi. She is a regular, Carolyn. This week's haul, that was her haul, what she's reading, Pineapple Street by Jenny Jackson, a debut novel that I enjoyed and look forward to her next book, and A Bird in the Hand by Anne Cleves. Emma says hi. Sally says hi. Judy, I'm reading The Soulmate by Sally Hepworth. Great read. Tanya says hello. Emma currently is reading Wildfire by Hannah Grace. Christine says hi to both of us. Alita, I'm reading The Dictionary of Lost Words by Pip Williams.
Oh, I love that.
Now, Jane and I are we've been invited. That's been made into a stage play.
Yes, I'm going.
Oh, you're going. Yeah, so are we. So I'm really looking forward to that.
And in fact, that's on at the SCC, and I just got a press release that it's going to Melbourne next year.
Oh, wow.
MTC taking it next year. I think it's the MTC. But yeah, I mean, that'll be one of those ones that goes around.
Wonderful. Yeah. Anita is reading The Disappearance of Astrid Breckard by Natasha Lester. Shall we say that's a segue? Because I've got that right here. Natasha, do you know her?
I know of her. Yeah. I haven't read that.
Well, she used to, I think she worked for one of the big companies like Dior or Chanel, I can't remember which one, in marketing, but had always wanted to be a writer. I think she was a marketing director for one of them. And of course, what does she write about? she writes about fashion. She writes
Yeah.
about, makeup in a way, but beautiful, lavish historical romance is how you would describe it. And this one is about a fashion legend, and it goes right back to her. They're slightly got mystery in them as well, and this particular person goes missing in 1973. So that's Natasha. I think she writes a book a year, does she, Jane? And they're always very beautiful and very lavish covers. So good to see that you're reading it. And Anita, did you say, you're reading it now and are you enjoying it? Okay, that's the question. Hey, I want to talk about Benjamin Stevenson. Do you know him?
I've got that, and in fact, I took it home to read because I thought the cover looked so good.
He is worth reading because he's very funny. I think he's a twin, and they're both comedians in real life, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think his brother has taken to writing, but he has. But he also works as an agent for one of the literary agencies.
Oh, right.
So
Is he American?
No, he's Australian.
Oh, Australian.
Yeah,
wow.
He's Australian, and he's a guy of many talents. I love him. He's quite funny. He's laconic funny. And with his first book many years ago, it was a few years ago now, I can't remember what the first book was called, he showed up a day late to his podcast here with us. And I just fell in love with him because he just kind of stood there and I said, your podcast was yesterday. And he's like, okay, but I'm here today. And I'm like, okay, all right.
Come on in.
Come on in. Let's do it. Yeah. Fiona McIntosh. Do you know about her?
No.
Oh, well, she's huge, absolutely huge. And she writes historical fiction. Now, she used to be a travel agent many moons ago. Her and her husband own a travel agency. And all she ever wanted to do was write. And then she took her hand to writing. And she had some kind of association with Bryce Courtney. Oh, I think she went to a writing class conducted by Bryce Courtney. And now she runs her own writing classes as well as writes books. Yeah, I think she's in Adelaide. Anyway, that's Fiona McIntosh. The book is called The Sugar Palace, and that's out now. Okay, all right, I'm going to go through a few more. Yeah. There's Chris Hammer. Oh, do you want to talk about that?
I just finished this on my June holidays, and I love Chris Hammer. I read every book of his up to this one, and he's a former journalist who does these crime thrillers, and I love that Martin, I can't remember his last name, but the guy that's the lead character continues through different books, so you kind of feel like you with his life, with these different love interests and different things, murders and things that he's solving. And yeah, I think Chris is such a good read. Now, and this is his latest one, which I haven't read yet.
The 7, that's right, which Jodie's talking about. Now, listen, this is a little bit of a segue, right? So Katrina Strickland, she's the editor of the Good Weekend magazine. I know you've taken your hand. You've written a book. You've taken your hand to nonfiction. Chris Hammer was a journalist, wasn't he? And started writing fiction. Is that an aspiration?
I would love to, but I think if you read enough fiction, you're probably not good enough. I took 6 months off in 2003 and tried writing a novel. I went to Asia and based myself mainly in Vietnam, where I had a friend and a cousin, and I got to about 30,000 words, and it's still in the bottom drawer, the metaphorical bottom drawer. So yeah, I think every journalist, everyone who writes for a living, loves the thought that they've got a novel in them, but I think the wise ones work out that is their novel good enough, and if not, maybe don't publish.
Yeah, although I think you can never say never, because it was a Fremantle Publishers. Who was it? Karen Herbert that was in. Yeah, we had a lovely. If somebody can find the book for me or put it up, that'd be great. We had Karen Herbert in. She's from Western Australia. And you guys will know it because I know a lot of you joined that panel. Oh, here she is. This is her new book called Vertigo. And this is it's never too late story. And this is, I think, her 3rd or 4th book. But she had a huge career in healthcare. I think it was aged healthcare services. She was very senior, CEO, whatever. She was at the peak of her career and she was retrenched and she loved her job. And she'd never, ever thought about writing because she had a career, right? And the very next day after she got retrenched, she started writing.
Did you have her on the podcast?
Oh, yes, I've had her on
Because
the
I've
podcast.
heard you talk to her about that.
Yeah. I have had her
Yeah.
on the podcast. I think we released a podcast too of that night. But
Mm.
that to me is so aspiring, isn't it?
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
like, so it's never too late, and if that's what you want
Yeah.
to do. But I got to tell you, she's a very high achiever.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if I was retrenched, I know I was
Retrench yourself.
No, that's right. Jane might retrench
Yeah.
me. No, but I was retrenched once, many, many years ago when I was young. It winded me. It took me 3 months to get over it. I couldn't have gotten up the next morning and written a book. No,
yeah.
I could not have done that.
But it's that thing, isn't it? That
Yes.
you
Have
best-
you ever been retrenched?
I haven't, but I think in some ways those terrible things turn out to be the best thing.
That's right.
But you don't see it at the time. But
No. Well, my brother
forces you to go and do something that
yeah.
perhaps you've always wanted to do.
Yeah. Well, you know what I did? My brother-in-law, who's an accountant, said to me, "This is like winning the lottery."
Yeah.
Because back then you got really big payouts as well. It was a
Yeah.
long time ago. And he said, so use that money wisely. And I bought an apartment in Surrey Hills. So there you go.
Very smart.
Very smart. Okay. Ross says, hello, team, and is currently reading Fatal Pursuit by Martin Walker. Jodie just finished the Chris Hammond book, The Seven. We can hold that up again. There you go. Louise is reading Wild Dogs by Michael Trant. Joy, love this segment where I gather ideas for my next book. And you know what happens? All our lovely people at home not only take our recommendations, mine and yours, but each other's as well. So it's great, you know, because very often it's word of mouth, isn't it?
Yeah,
For good books.
completely.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So Joy loves it, and she's currently reading The Hidden Book by Kirsty Manning, who is a lovely writer and from Melbourne. And I think she also owns a wine bar. I know all these little random things about writers. They're things that I just remember.
It's good.
Yes. Okay, Jane said she's just finished Work Wives by Rachel Johns, According to Yes, Yes, Yes by Dawn French, and Treasury by Maeve Binchy. All great reads and all quite diverse, I might add. I recorded a podcast with Dawn via Zoom. She wasn't here. I just loved it. It's one of my favourite podcasts. She used to be a teacher. Anyway. Jess says, hi, ladies. She's reading The Last Heir to Blackwood Library by Hester Fox. Malvina, who's a regular, love reading the Sydney Morning Herald book section on Saturdays. Hello, Cheryl and Katrina. Okay, you don't do the book section. Who does that?
No, that's in Spectrum.
Yeah.
And Jason Steger is the literary editor at the Herald and the Age.
Oh, right, there you go. Okay. Melissa says, hi to both of us. So glad to see you live. Oh, we love being here because sometimes these guys miss it at 2 and come back and tune in and watch it later because you can do that on Facebook. Sally said she's reading Back on Track by Tricia Stringer and loving it so far. And well, there you go. The Sugar Palace, which we've just talked about, Fiona McIntosh. Tanya is currently reading Tricia Stringer's new book, Back on Track, and listening to Seven by Chris Emma. Do you do audio? Do you do audio?
I love audio.
So do I. Love it. Yeah.
In fact, we were just talking about memoirs, and I was thinking the Michelle Obama Becoming. I listened to her reading that, and I feel like I'm her friend because I've heard her talking about.
You can't be her friend because I'm her friend. Because
she would be our friend, don't you?
Yes, I think she would, absolutely. Because I listened to it twice because her and I were like that.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, best
you
buddies.
You really feel like you know the people when they read their book.
Then do you know what I do, which I think is a bit stalkerish, is then I go and email them. I find their email address and tell them how much I love their book.
I think I might have done that to Pete Billings after the Dictionary of Lost Words, actually.
There
if you can find it, it's
but
who doesn't like to hear that someone likes what they've written?
That's right. That's what I think. It's not that bad, is it?
Oh no, I think you can't give people enough compliments if you truly like what they do.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What else have you got? Have you got anything else?
I've got, so 2 that I read over summer, which I absolutely over winter. I went to the American summer. 2 American books because I like to read the country that I'm going to. One was Romantic Comedy by Curtis Sittenfeld, and she wrote the.
What a great cover!
Isn't that a great cover?
Yeah.
She wrote Rodham, which was that wonderful conceit about what if Hillary hadn't met Bill Clinton, and what if she'd done something different with her life. That was fabulous. So I felt confident going into Romantic Comedy, and it's another one that turns a norm on its head because it basically is they're working on a kind of Saturday Night Live show, and it's the hot guest star falls in love with the kind of average dowdy producer on the show or screenwriter. And, it's like, well, you would believe it if it was the other way around, but, you never believe that the hot guy will fall for the normal girl. And it's so joyous because it works. It's a lovely book. And then and I was way behind the eight ball on this one, but Bonnie Garmus Lessons in Chemistry I also read, and I know that that's now coming to our TV screens, and I'm years behind schedule on that, but gosh, I loved it.
Well, you actually not, because that was a slow burn, that book.
Was it?
Yeah. It didn't really take off on release.
Right.
Like it sold, but not
it was her
to
first
this.
novel, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
And not to the, and also again, I mean, it was like career. Like I feel that she came to writing a bit later as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, you're not that late. I think it's still a bestseller. Is it on the list? Have we seen it on the?
It pops back up.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah. I thought,
and a lot of our readers have read it. Let us know if you've read the Bonnie Garmus book. Okay, all right. Do you know? Can I tell you guys a funny story about Bonnie? When the book took off, and that's why I know that, I said to Jane, we should do a podcast with her, right? We should track her down and do a podcast. But then when I picked up and read the book, I thought, I think I've spoken to her.
And had you?
Yes, I had. I had recorded a podcast. I mean, I come up with brilliant ideas that I forget about, right? But you know what had happened? First time ever, the audio got lost between us and the audio guy. So it had dropped off our system. So we all thought we hadn't had a conversation with Bonnie. Anyway, we found it as the book was booming. So it's great timing.
Perfect. So you didn't have to redo it.
That's right.
Yeah. She probably wouldn't have had time when it was booming anyway.
That's right. On the circuit. She's like, better reading who? I'm not doing that. Yeah.
Whereas before it's like, yes,
I'll talk to anyone.
Midnight, no problem.
Okay, Fiona's reading The Sugar Palace by Fiona McIntosh. She is very popular amongst our readers. Tanya is currently reading the Tricia Stringer book and listening to Chris Hammer. We talked about that. Yvonne is reading The Summer Place by Jeanette Paul, who she met recently in Ballina. Oh, there you go. Oh, should we tell people that we're going to be in Ballina? Or there's a little note. Okay. Did you know about this?
No,
have I told you about this? Okay. There is an event called When Love Comes to Town. And a couple of months ago, Jane and I went to Tamworth. I actually got COVID for the first time when I was there. But anyway, that was in Tamworth. Jane and I took the train and it was great fun. And it was Rachel Johns and a couple of other authors in a pub in Tamworth. And we had it. It was a great crowd, great night. And I was moderating and Jane was bossing me around, which is normally the relationship, right? So now we've got, and have I got the names of who's going to be there? No. So we've got When Love Comes to Town, and it's in Lismore. And the reason why Ballina was a trigger is because we're flying into Ballina. It's the 26th of October, 6:30 p.m. Entry is free, but booking is essential. But if you want to go, you got to jump on QuickSmart because I think there was only a few tickets left.
I think there's only 3 or 4 tickets.
Right. Okay. See how popular we are. I think if they're coming to see Rachel Johns. But anyway, who have we got? Rachel Johns, Lucy Lever, and Alyssa Callan. So they're going to be there. I'm going to be moderating, and Jane's going to be in the audience bossing people around. But on a more serious note, we are giving a monetary donation to. There's an organisation up there that's helping house people because since the floods, a lot of people haven't been able to get their homes off the ground again. There it is. That's the organisation, and they're building little homes for people. It's amazing, isn't it? So we're making a donation, and Harlequin is making a donation that night as well. Yeah, I think that's great too, isn't it? Okay, all right. So if you're up in Lismore, come and see us and come and say hi. Cassie's reading Black Sheep by Judy Nunn. Christine is reading The Clockmaster's Daughter. What a beautifully written book. Who is that? Shall I guess? Clockmaster's Daughter? I can't remember. Oh, it's gone. Okay, somebody tell us who wrote that book. It's Kate Morton. That's who I was trying to find.
I was thinking that too.
Melissa says hi, and he's reading The Last Bookshop in London by Madeline Martin. Malvina really enjoyed Further Ado by Jessica Detman this week. Jessica's lovely. I worked with her many years ago at Random House, many years ago. Karen says hi to us, and he's reading Ripper by Shelley Burr. Now, everyone is talking about Shelley Burr. Have you heard about her?
No.
Australian crime. If we've got a book, we'll show it. She's also listening to Sunrise Over Mercy Court by Fiona McCallum, and tonight she's going to meet the author Natasha Lester in Glen Waverley in Melbourne. Now that is a die-hard reader, isn't it?
Yeah.
Reading all those books and
Yeah.
then going to meet the author. You will love Natasha Lester. She's so lovely, beautiful, eloquent speaker as well. She'll have the most magnificent outfit on, and that's her book. Okay, what else? What have you got? Anything else?
Oh, that was all. Oh, Claire Keegan, Small Things Like These, another little book.
Yes.
Irish, just beautiful about that time in Ireland where, pregnant young girls were sent to homes and
their babies are taken away from them.
yeah, and it's just one of those. It's another small jewel. I thought it was absolutely beautiful.
It's lovely. I think you're right. Like when you're talking about short story, really that there is an intimacy about short story because you start and finish it so quickly, don't you think?
That's right. And
it's a
Claire
novella.
Keegan, there's no word that's wasted. It's just her writing is so kind of spare but beautiful and evocative of the way she talks, the way she writes, how the people speak is in that Irish lilt and those Irish kind of ways of speaking that is just so beautiful. You can kind of hear them,
hear the accent.
Hear the accent. You can, and the way they would talk that is not how we would talk, I can't think of anything now, of course, but
we know.
You know what I mean.
I do know what you mean. Now, I really...
Oh, someone just said, sorry, lessons in chemistry, giving a pet dog character sheer genius. I so agree. That dog was one of the best bits, Margaret.
There you go, Margaret.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. Now, this is, I just wanted to point this out. Shelley Burr, Ripper, she wrote, her first book was Wake.
Right.
And I think that was a debut. Wake was debut. I mean, honestly, I don't know anyone who hasn't read Shelley Burr and not loved it. It's crime, and I think you like crime, don't you?
I do. I love it.
We might give you a copy to go home with today.
Love that.
Okay, all right.
I think we're producing some really good crime writers at the moment. I think Dervla, McTiernan and Christian White and Chris Hammer. And who else were you going to say?
I was going to say that Jane Cadso should do an article on crime fiction.
Or Jane Harper.
Jane Harper. Because, do you know, I've got a theory on it. I always have a theory on something, right? But when I grew up, and I'm younger, older than you, so I probably, in my time, all the good crime fiction came from the US or the UK.
Yes, we didn't do it at all.
That's right.
Yeah.
And really, it was Jane Harper.
Yeah, that started that current run. And I agree.
Do you know, and the readers are loving it. And I feel that that's been one of the positives about social media, is connecting the readers immediately with what they're reading. Like before, it really was up to the literary journalists and, what were in the newspapers and what they were reading in their taste. Whereas now we're hearing from everybody. And I think that works quite nicely because, as you can see, people love sharing what they love reading.
And word of mouth, I think you put me onto Dervla McTiernan.
I did, yeah.
And I've just devoured almost every one of hers now because, I know listening to her on your podcast and she's just, again, she's got a little Irish accent that you could just listen to forever. It's so beautiful.
Love her a lot. Okay, all right. Now we won't go.
That everyone on this train that.
Oh, the Benjamin Stevens.
Yes,
there
just said that. Yeah.
Okay, so we've read Margaret's. Where was that?
Oh, that was just there.
There. Yeah. Okay, good afternoon, ladies. Oh, this is Kate. Currently reading Everyone on This Train is a Suspect and have just started Days of Innocence and Wonder by Lucy Trelaw. Okay, there's lots going on there and we won't get through them. Many people are reading Natasha's books. Miriam. Miriam Margolyes. I recorded a podcast with her and this was during COVID, and it was like she was in a little bunker in Italy because she's got a holiday house there. It was the most gorgeous and sweet, and as you can imagine, candid conversation. I just had such. Have you ever spoken with her?
No, but I love, like, you see her on telly, and
Yeah,
she's
just
mad
love
in
her.
all the good ways.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it from us. Katrina Strickland, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Cheryl.
What I do tonight is I go home and I read all the comments that I've missed on. So, and then I watch how people are interacting, and then I just get really happy. That's what happens.
What a good job you have.
I do. I've got the best job. So have you.
Don't retrench yourself.
No, I won't retrench myself, and hopefully Jane won't retrench me either. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. You know we love this segment. Thank you, Katrina.
Thank you.
Listen to the podcast. Katrina and I just had a really great chat. That podcast is coming soon. Listen to our other podcasts. Take care, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.